Oh, hello, Jordan. Hello, hello. How are you? Sorry, I walked past, saw that there was a comment, and felt the need to comment. Well, hold on. I am not set up at all. I'm still eating some cheese. Like an absolute savage. Because it's not like a cheese, like, block. It's like just like a cheese slice, because I'm out of food. I need to go grocery shopping, but I am too lazy to do so. Give me 1 sec. There we go. Getting my stream set up already. Cheese is good, I can wait. Yeah. If only it was fancy cheese and not like, well, I suppose it is slightly fancier, like sliced cheese, or cheese slices, if you will. Is it Sargento? Ooh, how fancy. Oh, hey Nova, the dishes was still listening. Listener only viewer spotted. Relatable. What kind of cheese is it? It is medium cheddar. Cheddar cheese that is too sharp. It's just like, it's too strong. If you add like extra sharp cheddar cheese to anything you're eating, I'm sorry, but now you're just eating extra sharp cheddar cheese. Extra sharp cheddar cheese on a burger, guess what? That's now an extra sharp cheddar cheeseburger. There is no meat. But that might just be me getting older. So my opinions on food change. Because it used to be like I could eat really, really sweet stuff just all the time. But now, you know, like you're drinking like boba tea or something. They almost always give you the option to choose the sugar level. And my little brother still goes 100% like a psychopath. My mom also just goes 100% like a psychopath. I have to take like 50, or even if they have the option, like give me like a 40% sugar level. Because otherwise, like after I drink it, I'll just be like, man, it's like I'm drinking icing. This stuff is way too sweet. Which is like kind of like what my dad does. But I'm not even old enough to be a dad. That's not true. I was gonna say I'm not even old enough to be a dad. But no, I think I am old enough to be a dad. I'm too young to be a dad. I'm about the right age to start being a dad, but I'm not ready for that kind of responsibility. I'm all about sweet stuff except for drinks for some reason. I don't know. I drink, like when I drink coffee, I drink it black, which kind of freaks people out. I know that's kind of weird. Cause it's like, I don't know. I'd rather not have my taste buds kind of like curl up at the sweetness. I'd rather them. It's like if something's too sweet, it's like your entire mouth kind of puckers. When something's too bitter, it kind of puckers the opposite way, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it's bitter, it's like, but if it's too sweet, it's like just the most optimal description. It's almost like your mouth is like curling out when it's too sweet and it curls in when it's too bitter. I think I'd rather my mouth curl in. Yeah, sweet drinks though, for the most part, I'm okay with it. Like I'll drink Sprite if it's available. I might have a Coke every once in a while. Although if I had to choose, if you gave me the choice between Coca-Cola and Pepsi, it would have to depend. I think if I was like, if I wanted something refreshing, I'll take a Coke. But if I want something that's sweet, something that I really want to taste, I'll take a Pepsi. I'll describe it with blend shapes. Okay, so imagine like a sweet, something that's too sweet, you're taking your blend shape from like 0 to 1. But something that's too bitter, you're dipping down into the negatives at that point. You're going off the rails. And I'm here for it. That might not actually be true, but so I think sweet and bitter are both tastes that you can taste. Okay, I've finished my cheese. Let's get started. Well, I said I finished it, but I just shoved like half a slice into my mouth, which isn't that much cheese, but still. Read descriptions, your taste buds sort of curl in opposite ways for sweet, sour, tangy, bitter. Yeah. I think sour is like the classic curling. You know, what are you working on today? All right, so check this out. This is what I'm working on. I should really just keep this loaded. Sorry, I wasn't really doing anything because I was eating. All right. I even threw away the package, so the cheese slices are just sitting on my desk, which a little degenerate. Yeah, this is what I'm working on, which you can check out here. I'm writing a Lisp. The stream title is correct, right? Writing a programming language? Yeah, writing a programming language. So I've already written it once, but I wasn't a huge fan of the design the first time around. I think I've become slightly more opinionated about how it should work. But it's a Lisp, which means that you write it like so. So like it's not gonna show up very big. Show up very readably. Yeah. We can switch to a different scene so it's slightly bigger, or let me see. Go into OBS, click on this. Is there a way to scale this up easily? You can see it. So we can do like def add is equal to some sort of lambda function that takes an x and y. And then the only s expression will be plus xy. Close that, close that, close that. There's no syntax highlighting, which makes this really hard to use. But then you can do something like add 2 and 10. There we go, there's 12. You can always just scale the web page. I don't think that's, oh, that is how that works. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, this is just WebAssembly. So it plays by all the usual rules. I was thinking in my head that it would like preserve its size for some reason, but that's not true. Yeah. But look at that. So you can do add to 10, and then if I go back to the master branch right here, I already have a few tests. And so let me see. The only macro that works in this version of it is an infix macro. No, okay. You also cannot copy and paste, because you need to enable some sort of flag. I don't know which flag though, but we'll just copy this by hand. Raw code, get 0, and then, so guess what an infix macro does? So in Lisp, it uses Polish notation, but you can get regular infix, or yeah, infix notation if you write a macro like this. So you can infix it. So if you do like infix 1 plus 2, so we're looking for 3. Look at that. But of course, if your macro gets any more nested, or if it gets any more complicated than basically not nested, it will break in this version of it. And that's actually something that I'm working on right now, is working on macro stuff. So let's keep this open just so I can show it off to people. Because I did write this, by the way. I own the repository. All the commits are from me. Some of the logic was from a... when I was writing it at the time, some chatter was also there, giving me some tips on how to write an evaluator or whatever. Evaluator, parser. And they also talked me out of writing a regex thing for this, because I think I was also looking at someone's tutorial. It wasn't a... There's the classic write a Lisp or something. Was it? Write a Lisp? What is it called? Make a Lisp. Yeah, make a Lisp. So make a Lisp is the classic, like, how do you write a programming language thingy? But I have not looked at any of the tutorials in depth. I've skimmed over them and then decided not to follow it. So this is a language written by someone who knows how to program, but has never really taken any formal computer science classes. I've done a lot of reading, but and I suppose some parts of it are influenced by someone who does actually have like real computer science training, education, I should say. But I suppose the most interesting part is that the tokenizer and parser do not work via recursion. They work via a stack now. For the evaluator, I've completely given up on trying to turn it into using a stack, because I'm not sure how you would do a stack here. I think someone popped into the chat and said that they were doing their own kind of programming language, and in their evaluator step, they're using 2 stacks. So there's one that manages your stack frame, and then there's another one that manages the value for the current frame. So you have a stack of stack frames, and then a stack of values that exist somewhere. I'm not actually sure. Is it the values for your stack frames? And so whenever you pop something off of... Yeah, actually, that might make sense. So a stack frame in this instance might refer to like a function call. So here, it is possible to chain function calls. So I could do... actually, I've switched back to the wrong scene. So for this, you can do something like add, which is a user-defined function. And then it takes in one-to-many parameters, because it actually works off of var args, which is something that GDScript doesn't have access to natively. Although on the back end, the way that it's implemented is the same between these two implementations. Because this is the rewrite, this is the original. So the way that add actually works is it expects an array. So arrays are always passed for all functions on the back end, which is somewhat inefficient, but that's fine. Yeah, but you can do something like add infix plus, or infix 1 plus 2, and then 3, so we're expecting 6. Yeah, there we go. And so for this, you would have, I think it's 3 stack frames, possibly 4. So one, you have the global stack frame, which just holds all your global variables essentially. Or it's not really global stack frame. It's more just your global scope that always just has to exist, because you can have multiple statements on the same line. So you can do like add 1, 2, and then you can also just pass in another thing. So like, minus 1, 2. So that uses the operator. And you can see here, oh, yeah. It also maintains a list. So you can pass in multiple things and then just queues everything into a list, essentially. So add is 3, 1 minus 2 is -1, and you can see that we have an array of the return values. It's also fairly fast. It's only about I timed it before. It's only about like 100 times slower than GDScript, because it's all interpreted, and then GDScript is also interpreted, so it's double interpreted. But in this code here, the plan is for me to transpile back to GDScript, which might be kind of cool, because I have written somewhere. Advanced. Yeah, here we go. I also wrote this thing. I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I was just wanting something that was strong enough, something stronger than Godot's built-in expression class, which mostly just turned into like programmatically writing a GDScript file. And so that's where the idea comes from. Oh, so since I have this, and all this is doing is putting together a GDScript file, I could transpile it now. So instead of just raw evaluating it and then returning a value, what I could do instead is start building out just a mega GDScript file based off of the input, and then either run that so it's almost like it's just in time compiled, or we can just AOT compile it as well, which is kind of weird. It's kind of weird, and I'm into it. Let's see. Where did I leave off? I left off here testing the infix stuff because I was working on macros. Okay. So go to, this is in the evaluator. We want to test infix. So we can run this. It fails. So everything works. Well, lambdas work. Well, the one test case for lambdas work. And everything is kind of... hello? Look at that. So lambdas work. It's only for a very simple thing. And then it also expects me to pass in the raw AST here. I guess I don't need to do it, but that's kind of the point of a unit test, I suppose. Is that you try to isolate things as much as possible. So GD Lisp. I think someone has pinged me on my Discord. Let me see if I can find that. I saw it on my phone. So actually I should just open it on my phone. What am I doing? Oh, look at that. People are talking. Sudo apt install open cpage gd when... Oh, absolutely not. Oh no. There's too much stuff. There's too much stuff that... I'm sorry. I'm not going to read the entire discussion on stream. Something about OSs. Some people are running Arch. There's a surprising amount of people that run Arch. I was never a huge fan of Arch. I think it's quite alright. It's very... it's extremely okay. I don't know. I think I'd rather have... Like the Arch wiki, pretty sick. You can use it for pretty much anything. Unless you're using a weirdo OS that doesn't do things like other people. But even then, you're still probably going to find resources for like your weirdo... Like, oh, like I'm not using... System D, I'm using startup or something. Let's see here. I need to... Okay, here, the macro stuff. So this macro stuff is correct. Oh, I remember where I left off. So I was poking at this today. So I was just sitting on a call and not doing anything. And I remember I narrowed down the logic to being broken here, question mark? Maybe it wasn't here? I thought I narrowed this down somewhere. Oh yeah, to do, yes. to do. We are only rearranging the AST here. Once the new expression is returned, it is reevaluated without the args, which is wrong. This is true. So what's happening right now is that it is doing the macro thing, which is rearranging the AST, the abstract syntax tree. So, for example, for the infix macro, right here I've defined it to be a list. So technically, every single function, every single lambda expects a list of arguments, aka an array, which is why the built-ins also expect arrays. But so this takes in a list, so we can ignore the first argument at the 0th indice. So given something that like this x operator y, what I kind of expect it to do is rearrange it so it's now operator xy. So it takes anything that is passed into it in infix notation, and then it outputs an AST thingy in Polish notation. I think that's Polish notation. What is Polish notation? I've Googled this before. Polish notation is normal Polish notation, prefix notation. Yeah. Polish notation is plus number, whereas reverse Polish notation, which I think is what you do in like Forth, a programming language. It's a stack-based programming language. So in Forth, you would you add 3 to the stack, you add 4 to the stack, and then once you add plus to the stack, it pops the last 2 numbers from the stack and then places the results back onto the stack. Yeah. I've written some Forth for fun before. So that's how you know that I'm a psychopath. You're saying you program for fun? So I'm wondering if it's a macro. I wonder if it's a macro, what I should do. Yeah, I wonder if macros should just output a function at that point, right? So I think right now, macros don't actually output functions. But I'm thinking, is because procedures and macros, they both extend references. What if I do this? Or actually, am I thinking about like the infix macro incorrectly as well? Right, because here in the evaluator, you might notice that it's not just simply rearranging. It's not simply just rearranging x operator y. It's also passes these with a special symbol type called a quote, which means that it's supposed to take the, basically it's ignored by the evaluator, right? So the evaluator takes it and then just returns this S expression, right? Otherwise, the evaluator would actually try to evaluate it. Wow. So I'm wondering if that's not correct. Let me Highlang. Let's look at Highlang. I like Highlang. And then give me the infix notation, because that's the easiest one to, the easiest thing to figure out. Infix notation is kind of the hello world of like macro programming. Let me see. I do require a thing. Style guide, I don't care. Literals, no. Lipstick on a Python, or Lisp stick on a Python. I get it. Oh yeah. Do they have just an infix? I remember they used to have an infix thing. Okay. infix? Give me the infix notation, please. There's a tutorial. Infix. This might not be it. Yeah. Or I guess Lisp infix macro. And so Lisp by itself does not exist. There's no such thing as just like a regular Lisp, which is kind of confusing when you're trying to get into Lisps, because there's no just a standard Lisp. So there's Common Lisp, but I'm not sure if Common Lisp is the most common one. Like I've seen a lot of like there's SBCL, which is like Steelbank's Common Lisp, which might be more popular. So this is just an infix, I think. Yeah, I've seen this before. So this is closure. And in standard Java practice, it's very hard to read. Or it's very exploded. The macro. So arrow. Don't really know what the arrow syntax means. I know that Highlang takes a lot of inspiration from closure, because I remember this exists. Similar to the threading macro, instead of inserting each expression into the next expression's first argument, it appends it as the last argument. So what does this mean? Infix syntax. What is this? This is Lisp Cookbook. CMU. Okay. What am I looking at? Infix syntax? Oh, this is just infix syntax. We don't care. So it takes the expression, resolve aliases, and then rewrites it, huh? Standard Lisp prefix expressions. What is resolve alias? Where do some of these come from? Oh, it's from rewrites. Oh, good. And then in core, rewrites. Okay, core. Where's rewrites? Oh, there it is. Ah, there it is. Recursively rewrites the infix expression as a prefix expression according to the operator precedence rules. So my infix expression doesn't really support that, but I think I could support that. I would just need to look at how the threading tail call works, because that's not something I'm familiar with. So condition, if not this, then that. Else, then this, then that. Or I guess these are just if, right? Because it's a condition block. And this is the fun part about Lisps. Look at how many parentheses there are. And then it works also via recursion, so that's good. I don't know. It doesn't appear that they're doing any quoting though, so maybe I don't want quoting in mine. Let's just keep this open. So maybe for infixes you don't want to quote it, you just want to run it by itself. So it's like you want to insert the value, but you don't want to evaluate the value. These should be quoted, right? Because we're just rearranging them and then returning the AST, so we don't want to actually parse anything. We don't want the final value, basically, in the macro. Or sometimes you do want the final value, but... So here, I think what I can do is to grab all of this. Procedure is equal to all of this stuff. Take out that, because I'm pretty sure that's completely wrong because of the above to do. And here, test the evaluator. Non-existent function, call func and base and nil. All right, so this should have given me just absolutely nothing. So did something happen? Undefined symbol operator. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. That we wouldn't have a symbol called, well, because we're quoting it, sure. Where does undefined symbol come from? Because it shouldn't be evaluated. It should actually be completely ignored. Yeah. So undefined symbol here. So we're evaluating it when we shouldn't be. Give me a breakpoint here. We'll try to figure it out. So at procedure run list 0. So this is a test infix. Okay, then list is op. Okay, so this is the new expression that I'm also assuming that we don't have any args. So we're oh, I see. So it did rearrange it, but then on the nested run, yeah. Maybe it should be like procedure call function, and then call function will automatically run itself anyways if it needs to run itself. Maybe. Okay, give me another shot, coach. Non-existent function, call func, and base reference. Yeah. But what is this? Procedure is actually an S expression. What if I, from the yeah, okay, I said this earlier. What if I evaluate all macros as like a procedure, or yeah, basically a procedure. I could. That would be kind of weird. So instead of just returning the raw S expression, well, because I don't know if that's completely correct, but I still need some way of passing the rest of the parameters into it. Is that how macros are implemented in other languages? Is there something I might be missing here if I implement macros as just a fancy procedure? Alright. Oh geez, what was that? What is this? What? What? Is this a Windows Power Toy kind of thing? What the heck? What? Does this show up on stream? It does. What the heck is this? Double control? I need to turn that off. I know I have Windows Power Toys on, but hold on. What does do this live? Download install? Absolutely not. Administrator, it is running as administrator. Image resizer, color, is it color picker? No, that's Windows Shift C. That makes sense. Maybe I shouldn't be showing this on stream. Just in case it displays my IP address for whatever reason. I don't think that will do anything, but... Oh, this is... Oh, find my mouse. But I don't... I've never needed this. Well, highlight mouse clicks? Is that how that works? Is that something that people use? Oh, that is actually fairly cool. That's actually kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. Who knew? I use this all the time. I use this all the time on Android. Because I never remember where I'm clicking. And because I somewhat do not trust my digitizer on my phone. That's cool. Turn that back off. So here, we'll hit it with a return, probably just a new procedure. Hold on. We'll do this here, so I can check both things at once. So lambdas return a new procedure with args, and a new args and etc. So then this will do return procedure new. I think the args are going to be the same. So we only put the args in if we want to evaluate them, or we only use the args if we want to evaluate them immediately. Actually, I wonder. If val is array, then we want to unpack it and then run it as again. Actually, that's not necessarily true, I think. I think it's always going to be... Arg names. This is not completely true, but we can still try to make it work. Arg names E, and then the last one is the implicit scope. So I think we can just pass along the scope here. Maybe that'll be fine. So call function. We can have this return a procedure. Procedure return E. Okay, this is opening up a new can of worms. Hold on. What if? Hold on. What if? Just undo me. This will always return an expression, and then we just handle it differently down here. So here it's procedure call function, and then this gives you back an S expression, and then we can pass in the args once again. So we'll do procedure new. Arg names are going to be passed here. I don't think that's true. So we slice it twice, which means that we can cache this one, but whatever. And we'll also pass in the scope question mark. Maybe? I don't know. That doesn't feel right. We'll just run the test anyways. Ah, well. Invalid type in function base reference cannot convert argument 1 from object to string. So scope cannot convert argument 1 from object to string. Arg name. So did this What happened? So the input. Oh, it's a function reference. And those are not argument names, like, at all. So I need the old argument names. Oh, thank you for redeeming a hydrate. Let's drink some water. Ugh. There we go. Successfully drank some water. I've proven that I am indeed above the age of 3. I don't need a sippy cup anymore. I'm sort of back. Oh, he's back from dishes. Nice. Not 100% back. I get it. Gotta build in that wiggle room there. Index and argnyms. Yeah, this is what I thought. That this is not correct, because these are not the correct argument names. These are just the inputs. But I think what we can do, if I grab the old procedure arg names, we might need to make that public. Oh my god, it worked. Oh, but then that's so weird. That's so weird. I don't think that's what I should be doing. I hate that. Congrats. Oh, thank you, thank you. I absolutely hate it. That doesn't feel correct. Is there like a more complicated macro that I can use that is like also easy for me to write? Yeah, so the infix macro test works. So we get a result and we also assert that this worked, which is neat, right? So we can do this multiple times here. So pass in different values. So we do something like that, and then we can assert that it's not null, and then also assert that the value will be equal to 102. Or actually, it doesn't matter, right? We can do, oh, we can do divide, and we're looking, oh, don't divide by that. Well, no. 100 divided by 2 is 50. I was, for whatever reason in my head, I was like, 100 divided by 2, that's 5, dog. No, that's, there's an extra 0 on that. It's actually 50. So run the evaluator. Oh, beautiful, it works. I guess in the big, like, kind of like full test, what I should do, and also I do need to fix this as well. So ran scripts matching test evaluator, and then we're also leaking stuff. So let me see. I think it's in debug, wherever debug is. I always don't remember where it is. All right, verbose standard out. Run me. All right, so what did we leak? We leaked the, maybe an expression? Yeah, I think we leaked an expression. So here, what can I do to not leak expressions? Because I want to say it's like the lambda and also the infix that kind of breaks stuff. So in the evaluator, I don't know what run like does, but I think I can just pass in a specific test. So this one should be fine, right? Oh, it's random all run like. Can I do that? Is this how it works? Scripts 11, okay, cool. Only one test. Did we leak anything? I don't know. Maybe the evaluator just leaks a lot of memory every time it runs. How would I clean up? So we can try to clean up the evaluator every time. So if I do like evaluator equals null, so explicitly null it out, will that work? Am I still leaking? I can't really tell. Run me. Ah. Alright. What are we leaking? We're leaking like a ton of stuff. 100%. Leaked instances typically happen when nodes are removed from the scene tree, but not freed with free or queue free. But none of these, it's because the evaluator hangs onto references by itself. Well, obviously, but it hangs onto probably the scope. It's probably the scope, yeah? It's because the scope has many scopes inside of it. So what I should do is... hello, do you work at a big tech company? I do work at a big tech company. It's probably not one of the big tech companies that you are thinking of, though. Unless you have already Googled my name and thus found out which tech company I work for. It's not a... You know, I suppose I should preface it. My words and or actions do not represent the views of my company. Not Fang, I guess. Yeah, you have guessed correctly. I have interviewed for Fang several times. I remember Amazon gave me like the hardest tests, whereas Facebook was just like, yeah, send it, dude. Amazon was really tough. Google has never accepted me because my grades are horrible. But maybe now that I have a bit more experience, they might be more willing to give me a try. Yeah. Facebook. I guess it's not called Facebook anymore. It should be like Mang. It's called Meta now. Facebook was pretty easy. I've taken that interview test twice. Oh, yeah, no, this is not right. Because, well, this is always going to be the global scope. How old are you, if I may ask? I am probably older than you. I graduated from university in 2017. So take from that what you will. I mean, it should be pretty obvious. Although I do know some people who graduated from university like when they're really, really young. So like, I knew a guy who graduated from Caltech when he was like 14. Yeah, he was one. Yeah. 14 or 15. He was like a super genius. Or he didn't graduate from Caltech. He got accepted into Caltech and then dropped out. Because as it turns out, going to university when you were like 14 years old, pretty tough. So then he went to my university and I was like, hey, you're like a pretty smart dude. Pretty smart dude. Way smarter than me. Dude was also like a very sad drunk, but that's a story for another day. What a absolutely horrible memory to have come back to me at this point in time. So the infix works. And I should also say, I do also know people that have graduated from university. Like, they went back to university in their 40s. So, you know. I'm glad. I hope my answer was concise enough for you. I could be anywhere from, like, 14 It's a 40. Was lab partners in college with like a 16-year-old pretty nice kid, very sloppy code? Yeah. I think that's everyone though. Like you, right? Or maybe you didn't have sloppy code in college. College, university. When I'm speaking to other people, I always try to use university, because in like regions other than the US, university and college are actually different. And even like here, college and university are different, but when people say college, they usually mean like university, not like a technical school. But like I know when I was talking to people in Malaysia, they were like, oh, you go to college? What for? Like plumbing? And I'm like, what do you mean plumbing? And like, oh, you said you're going to college. And I was like, oh, sorry, I meant university. My bad. And now ever since that, I've been, all right, just be careful to always say university instead of college. Otherwise, people might think that like, there's nothing wrong with blue collar work. I do find myself enjoying manual labor more than I enjoy whatever I do right now, which is just talking. But, I don't want to get my skill sets mixed up. I'm 21, first year in college. Am I late to the party? Nah, that's about normal age. It's a bit later than some, but still about on target. I didn't know they were different. I should probably use university. Yeah. Well, they're different in certain parts of the world, so just have to be careful. Like I know at work, work with a lot of, as they call them, offshore. So I think in India, colleges and universities are different. I'm not sure actually. Don't take my word for that. But if you want to present yourself well, you had to say university. Here in college, here's what we call college high school. What? College is high school? I know that, I don't know. It is not related, but oh, you know what? It's probably, no, yeah. Is it all of these? Yeah, I was something that's somewhat related but not related at all is that I know in the UK schooling system it's called like forms, so you'd be like form 5 or whatever. I'm not sure how that maps back to American school levels, but everywhere that uses the British system or the UK system is forms. It's called Hogescholen. I don't know how to pronounce the umlaut. Which translated to English is high school. I guess it's like higher education, I suppose. So high school, like a higher type of school. Yeah, I guess if you come from a background like that, it does make sense, because like higher education is generally what you would refer to like college and university. Because anything past, elementary, middle, and high school is higher education, which I guess what might be the more accurate translation, I suppose. So it's not like higher, it's not like a high school, it's like a higher school. the very, very slight change in pronunciation makes a lot of difference. It's a higher school as opposed to a high school. I'm not seeing where we're leaking memory, by the way. Because the problem that I'm envisioning is that if we're leaking memory here, we're probably leaking memory just during regular execution as well, which means that I might be running out of memory really quickly. But it looks like it's just a lot of evaluator stuff. And I'm also not sure what these are. AEISV, question mark? Yeah, it looks like everything was just leaked, which is crazy. I guess I'll have to think about it. I guess I'll have to think about it. Because all of these are reference counted intentionally. They should not be like value objects. I wonder if I do GD Lisp. We basically like immediately null these out. Maybe that will. Maybe that's where we're just leaking. Oh, absolutely not. What were you thinking? Yeah, GD script native class. What the heck? And then just a bunch of other GD script thingies, which I'm assuming are the inner classes. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check at runtime, I guess, once I get the REPL back up and running. But for now, this infix thing does seem to work. It just seems kind of weird in that I transform it into a procedure, and then I pass all of the args back to it, which is not ideal. Get arg names. All right, we'll do this. Get arg names. So the procedure is a macro. Actually, because it might be nice to have access to all of these anyways, so we can move it up to stored expression. So this is just a getter, I guess. It's an explicit getter, but a getter nevertheless. So procedure call function gives you an expression that we then store in the procedure, and then we also store the original scope into that procedure. And here, yeah. So the idea is that sometimes in your macro you might want to actually evaluate stuff. Other times you'll just want to rearrange the AST. So if you want to just rearrange stuff, you have to use the quoted form. So right now I have, you can just use a single quote in order to denote a quoted form. So what that might look like in like regular Lisp syntax is something like this. So like, I don't know, like X, something like that. That's not actually how that works in other Lisps, but other Lisps do it like this, where you can just have like a, like this, basically. So you would do like add, or how would this look like in regular Lisp? It would be like infix X operator Y. And I think what you would then do is hold on, something like that if you wanted to rearrange the infix format. But I'm not sure how I would parse that. Or no, you wouldn't parse it like this, you would parse it like that. Yeah, because otherwise I think it's a valid symbol. Yeah, like that. That's how you should write it. So infix, or like open parenthesis, infix, square bracket, X operator, Y, close square brackets. And then before every S expression that will be in the quoted form, you would prepend a single quote. Might also just call it an apostrophe. Prepend it to that S expression. And then what I should be doing, I guess, yeah, actually, yeah, might just take this single quote out so it's more regular. Yeah, I guess in the parser I can still try to do it. So in the parser here, so we'll still tokenize it as like something completely separate, maybe. But in the parser, what we'll do, yeah. Oh, I already have this here. It just doesn't do anything. Good job, me. Good job. I don't think I use... Yeah, I never use is quoted, but I'd have it. And it's not even a recent change. Okay, well, there we go. So if it's quoted and then we open up another S expression, what we'll actually transform it into is something like... so this is just syntactic sugar for something like that. So, quote... something like that. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Yay for past UN, yes. Past UN, way smarter than present UN for sure. But that is kind of what I'm representing here, by the way. I think, isn't this how you... Actually, hold on. If you take out this containing list... Oh no, now I need to check this, because now I'm not sure. I'm losing confidence in my... Previous UN has screwed me again. So this is actually what I wrote. Which is quite a bit different from what I wrote here. So what I actually wrote in this test was this. So there's an extra set of parentheses. So it looks like that. But what I wrote here as my intended functionality is different. So this is test infix wrapped, and then I suppose I need to have a test infix unwrapped as well, or not wrapped. So we will grab all this. The difference is very subtle. Boo for past UN. Yeah, boo this man. Come on. Alright, so the biggest difference is we remove this line here and remove this line here. Yeah, so the idea is that this should these should give me the exact same results, but I'm a little nervous now. Please work. Ah, no. It's different. Oh no. Yeah, because we're in an invalid state as well. Oh good. A very sad lad. Oh, actually, it's because I'm a big dummy. And I'm not even running this correctly anyways. Hold on. This is absolutely not how you would run. No, this is how you would run an infix, right? So I go back to this test thing. Hold on. Is this correct? Is this correct? Because it requires an S expression. So infix requires an S expression. Oh no. Oh, hello, Isidore. Avela. I had to do some stuff beforehand. I hope you're doing well. I am doing pretty well, so your hopes have been assuaged. Have no fear, I am doing well. How are you? I should say I'm doing well in like a mental aspect. Probably in terms of code, I'm not doing very well at all. What the heck? So I don't like this syntax. It's doing fine. Are you doing fine or are you doing well? Sorry, I'm being pedantic, if only because I'm very slowly tilting myself with my old code. So, hold on. Does this work? So I don't think you can just infix like this. Yeah, I think I just crashed it. Maybe. Yeah. So if I check the inspector, check this out. Oh, that's good. Yeah, runtime error, null function or function signature mismatch. That's good. I like that. Or maybe that's not even valid Lisp. Maybe I don't need to worry about that. But if that's not valid Lisp, then that implies... Oh, thank you for redeeming a hydrate. What exactly am I doing? I am writing a programming language. I've written it once before. It's this thing here. Let me just grab this. Oh no. I almost knocked over my water bottle. Look at this. You can find it here on my itch.io. I also have just a bunch of other things on my itch.io. Everything except for OpenSea Face, which I'm using for the GD. I'm using for the face tracker right now, is on itch. All right, I'm halfway done with my water. And I think if you're trying to read the very small text, it says here I've been using the same reusable water bottle for the past 15 years. And this is indeed true. I am using the same water bottle as I was in middle school. Language implemented in GDScript, very interesting. Yep, it technically works already. I'm trying to rewrite it so it's more... It makes more sense, I suppose. I'm a bit worried though, because I think my implementation, or at least my tests, I've been writing my tests wrong. Or basically like this test infix not wrapped. I've been passing in the arguments wrong, because here, this is the unwrapped S expression, basically. This is the unwrapped S expression. But then when you are defining an S expression, you always need to wrap it. Or no, when you're defining the macro, you need to wrap it in an S expression. And I don't think that's how I actually define this. Why do I do things like this? Well, no, because it's pre-wrapped. It's pre-wrapped. Implementing a language in GDScript before as well, but performance was always a concern of mine. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. I have, way back when I wrote this, which is like about a year ago, I think. It's about 100 times slower. It's about 100 times slower than GDScript. It might be even slower than that, I'm not sure. But all it was doing was counting up. So I'm assuming for like more complex things, or the more things that have to be evaluated by the interpreter, the slower it gets. Because, you know, when you're just counting up, I can still fall back on using the function references for, you know, like adding is just adding, uses the built-in GDScript stuff. But something that's kind of interesting about my language is that you can redefine anything you want. So if you redefined, you know, plus to actually just be like a fancy version of minus, then guess what? I think I would have to assume, because it has to go through like maybe 2 or 3 more stack frames, because it needs to find the procedure and then actually execute the procedure. I would have to assume it gets even slower. But something that's cool, to continue to repeat myself, check this out. I've written this piece of code here, not explicitly for writing a programming language, but it's more for just being able to write really powerful code snippets. Oh baby, and you kind of see where I'm going from here. Because I have a library for writing really powerful code snippets in GDScript, because all it is a wrapper for generating GDScripts programmatically instead of evaluating the GDScript, or instead of evaluating my Lisp, what it can do instead is start generating a GDScript file from my Lisp file in the same evaluate step. And so then we can either basically just-in-time compile it or AOT compile it. Ahead of time compile, which is the interesting part, I think. But yeah, this is wrong. Very good, me. exp type list. And we'll want to wrap all of these. Yeah, so this is where my test was wrong. Yeah, okay. And we'll do the same thing. Library looks interesting, so I suppose it's a bit more flexible than just compiling a string as GDScript during runtime. Yeah. So just compiling a string as GDScript, well, yeah, basically. So if you're talking about advanced expression GD, which is, I guess, one of the multitude of just random libraries I've written for GDScript, for something like this, it can just take in a raw string as GDScript, but the cool part is that it can like it mimics the built-in expression class's interface, right? So the built-in Godot expression class has a compile step. Actually, technically, the built-in expression class only has compile and execute, whereas I have add, and the compile takes no arguments. And then execute will just try to run the entire expression just like that. So you might notice that that's not actually something that you can do in regular GDScript. So it has a built-in runner function that allows you to just randomly execute it as almost like a Python file, right? So Python, you can have root level expressions that are executed every time you load in the script. GDScript does not have that functionality, but I have made it. I have forced that functionality into it, basically. So you can run scripts as actual scripts now, basically, if you use this thing. And then also GDLisp also runs like a script, which makes it a good fit. Yeah. And by the way, it's not just a phase, mom. No, it's not just a something that theoretically works. It totally does work in general. Look at that. Extensively tested. Most test cases are covered. Oh no, I exited out of it, didn't I? Most test cases are covered. Oh baby. Everyone loves a good unit test. But send me back to here. exp new exp type list. Bring this stuff in, copy and paste. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I wrote advanced expression GD as a helper library for GDML, which might be a bit more interesting. It's a very weird way of doing UI layouts, but also it will just work for regular games as well. So it's HTML style GDScript. And so because it's HTML style, you can just write a root level scripts and then reference them from anywhere in the GDML thing, and it should just insert the script as appropriate. It's true, I often forget unit tests even though they save me so much debugging work later on. Yeah, I'm not super hot on unit tests by themselves. However, I think if I know what I'm doing, or I know how I want to implement something, I think unit tests have or I should say, if you know how you want to implement something, or you know how something should work, like like these building blocks are 100% correct, we should follow these steps. I think unit tests have a lot of value. But if you're doing something weird, then it might not be worth it to write unit tests. Right. because you're not sure if your building blocks are even the correct step, so now you're just kind of wasting time on something that's incorrect. Now, you might argue that there is value to being correctly incorrect, but I don't know. I think it's faster just to be able to throw things away in that case. But yeah, now we're running into a bunch of errors, but we're not getting any actual errors, which is concerning. So we're running a list, which is an open S expression. Infix, and then infix must take in another list or another S expression. It's not like a real list. 2 plus 3. Okay, so my implementation is wrong because I think I might have changed some things I shouldn't have. Let's run me back here. What do we have here? We can step into here. Get arg names, yeah. Call function. So E, we start building out a new thingy. Ooh. Why did we step in? Ooh. Ooh. Where are we? What? Did we return early? Wait a minute. Hold on. Undo me. Something's wrong here. So procedure, there are 3 arg names. Args, procedure. It's a different procedure now. Yeah, I think my test was completely wrong. I've made a huge mistake concerning macros. But not annoying with all my questions. It's no worries. That's what I'm here for. GDML, is there an advantage of using it instead of just loading a pack scene, maybe for modding? The advantage of GDML is that you can lay out your entire UI layout in kind of an HTML style format. So whether or not you think that's an advantage or not, that's kind of up to you. Another advantage is that you can just dump all your scripts all into one place. And so then you have a very familiar syntax if you are like a web developer or whatever. I've been trying to focus on finishing a work for a client before they sign up for the night. So the stream, no problem. Take it easy. Good luck with your work. But yeah, it's depending on whether or not you find like this syntax more readable than just regular GD script and then using the scene tree, right? So I suppose I should say that I did write this. I wrote this entire application. Well, 99% of it. So I am familiar with using the scene tree, but for something like this, you might argue that this is kind of unreadable since all the scripts are all in one place. It's kind of close to being like a text scene with a bunch of built-in scripts in it. But like, I don't know, you can kind of just read it. Like, this is almost human readable. Whereas if you were to look at a text scene file, I would argue that a text scene file isn't very human readable at all. Like, you can kind of read it. It's not the hardest thing in the world. This is not a good example. Bring me back to here. Haha. No, this file, not this file. This file. Yeah, so it's like, do you find, does this look very readable to you? Kind of. It's kind of hard for me to read. Or does this look more readable to you? And technically the spacing is not necessary at all either. Right? So that's like up to you. And also, by the way, this is more portable than a text scene file because text scene files use relative paths. Yeah, so as you mentioned, it's good for modding, I think. Because when, or at least this tries to load things via a load context. So if you're loading in, bring me back, everything, GUI, everything, Yeah, there are some things that we're just loading in at runtime. So text scripts, and then it just needs to be in the same directory, text script, like that. GML is certainly more readable, but it depends on whether or not you use the editor or not. Yeah. So it's like, it's a number of factors, but the thing about, I think the original reasoning, the very, very original reasoning, and something that some people might not realize about this application, OpenCFaceGD, which is the thing that I'm using right now, is that the GUI is actually laid out via XML already. So GDML was just a logical extension of this. So the idea behind making this XML based was that everything is already generated at runtime anyways. So I might as well like take it out of the GD scripts and then just instead parse it. So it's, you know, instead of having like a long line of basically like Qt framework style code, and it's now like XML, right? And then also, because it's no longer included on exports, so whenever you download the, you know, the release build of OpenCFaceGD, everything in the resources folder is included and run and loaded at runtime. So you can make changes to the UI if you want to. Now, why you would want to do that, I'm not sure, but you totally can. Maybe you would rather have, you know, like, maybe you would rather just have like a single button that has one single mega button that has everything on the left side. You could do that if you wanted to. Why you would want to do that, I don't know. You know, some people have psychopathic tendencies, and that's not for me to judge. But basically, it's just a logical extension of making things moddable without requiring the user to re-export the entire application. Makes it app extensible. I support that. Yeah. It is extremely extensible, for sure. For sure. Now, whether or not you think it's a good thing, I think I've talked to several people about this. I think there are lots of opinions about making things more extensible. So I know for people who are, you know, you're writing online games, they absolutely hate this idea. Because when you're forcing other people to download like other people's like almost client data, that's a security risk, which I can understand. Input. What is arg names? Arg names. Okay, so this is why it exits early. I think Godot has problems loading resources out of res pass, so I don't know how much this can use money. Well, see, that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Is that this doesn't actually load anything via a res path. This loads things via a context path instead. So to continue to get distracted, check this out. So in the generator, hold on, I can find it. This actually still needs to be refactored, but let's ignore it for now. When you are loading in, oh, I forget where it is. It loads it in from a context, I swear. Is it here? Is it here? Where is it? Source already handled, this is true. Handle source attribute, hold on. Handle source attribute. And then this creates another instance. I don't remember where it goes. I do know that I pass in a context path. And then it uses this context path to load other things in. Yeah, handle file path. Yeah, handle element, handle file path. And then it loads it from the context path. So you must pass in a path, and then when you're doing all your loading, you must use a relative path, otherwise it's gonna break. Yeah. So it's roughly the same thing. Roughly the same thing. You could emulate the same functionality by just doing, it's like OS get executable path, something like that. And then you would just need to differentiate between a release and debug build. Does it use the resource loader? Because I think it cannot load assets that weren't imported with the editor. It can, actually. It does work. Because that's how this application works. Actually, yeah, well, kind of. So I'm running it from here. So if I go to file location, you can see that I'm just running this from my apps folder. And these resources, so if I were to restart this application and then, you know, I guess just move the resources folder, it would not load in properly, right? But it's loading everything in, not from here, from here. So it's loading in the scripts at runtime, it's loading in the XML files at runtime based off of a relative path, based off of the engine executable path, which is here, right? It's a similar methodology that I've done, or that I've used for, let me see, GD native runtime loader. So this also is a helper library that I'm going to be using for the upcoming rewrite for this, or it is actually in use in the rewrite for this, where you can load in GD native plugins based off of basically this. Oh no, bring me back. Examples, yeah, the big example. So you have your plugins. You'll need to compile the DLLs, but then it's just an INI file. So it's similar to how you would manually, or not manually, right? Use the editor to generate a GD native library. But instead of having to do that in the editor, all you need to do is supply an INI file, and then this library will just load it in for you. It will generate all the necessary things for you. And then you just need to use basically the same idea, right? A context loader in order to load things in. It just was an earlier version. I remember not working in Godot 3.1. I've never tried it again since. I think it's, if you try to load in a text scene, that's where you start running into a lot of problems, right? Because in a text scene file, you might notice that these are all referring to resource paths, which is something that you absolutely need to avoid. Yeah, so that makes modding really difficult, is if you're using text scene files. It's okay to use a text scene file, but it cannot refer to any resource paths. And I'm not actually sure if you can change these like manually. I'm not sure if you can change these to use a relative path. I've never tried that. I suppose that's something I should try at some point, but yeah, this is why it doesn't work, is that if you have any of these, it doesn't work. But if you use instead, say like a GDML file, where everything is already just kind of loaded at runtime, it should work. Maybe. Let me see, if input, so the input is not actually an array, or is it? Or hold on, I think I got it. So here, what I want to change, so release me. So the procedure is a macro. So macros can only be S expressions with 2 values, I guess, or when we execute a macro. Thank you for explaining. Oh, no problem. That's what I'm here for. It's part of my training. Since this is what I do for work, I am trying to work on the fact that I mostly only modulate my voice on 3 tones. It's a high tone, mid tone, and low tone. I'm trying to work on that. But otherwise, that's more or less what I do for work. It's, you know, technically I'm a programmer. In actuality, it's like in actuality, this one. In actuality, I mostly just explain things in really simple terms. I think your voice is very relaxing. Oh, no, you. No, you're relaxing. How's it go? It's been such a long time since, was it Keanu said the thing? When was that? It was before Cyberpunk came out? When people were still pretty bullish on Cyberpunk? I've never played it. Knew it was overhyped. And surprise, surprise, it was overhyped. Which is why Elden Ring was such a nice change, shall we say. Because Elden Ring was super hyped up and also turned out to be pretty sick. I think list 0, no, this needs to be list 0. That's an expression. We can get the value, I guess. This might break. Hold on. Var macro name. Alright, and then we'll do the Python thing. So macro name if macro. No, we'll just string it. That's fine. So we'll just grab all this. This could still totally break, but at some point it's no longer my problem. So we're... Hold on. Macro name, hold on. Macro name to list size. I haven't tried Elden Ring yet, but I've gotten a few recommendations for it already, so I might try it in the future. If you like Dark Souls combat, you'll really like Elden Ring. Even if you don't like Dark Souls combat, I think if you've played Breath of the Wild and you thought the combat was good enough, I think you'll still like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is very Breath of the Wildy. Like there's no, spoilers, there's no gliding in Breath of the Wild, which is, by the way, why I like playing Genshin Impact. But hold on. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I think if you liked Breath of the Wild, but you don't mind, some BS, because I think there are definitely, like, Elden Ring, spoilers again, unlike Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring just revels in its ability to gank you at every possible opportunity, which is kind of frustrating, but once you get wrap your head around it, it's not so bad. So what's going on here? Is it this? I've tried Breath of the Wild, but yes, man, I'm not that much into modern games to be honest. Oh, I see. A hipster, I see. How are you feeling about Space War? How about Tennis for Two? Is this game too modern for you? Of course, I'm just ribbing you. The only like super old games I played through the old Pokemons. I say Pokemon, but some people say Pokemon. I played through Final Fantasy. I've played some Final Fantasy 4. So the input size is still 1, even though I should be stripping it down. Not right up my alley. Oh, there we go. Something is not right. Because this should be returning early. Call function. The slice of... Oh, I see. So args is list one value. And then this needs to be args. Args. Something like that? I don't know. I played through all the Final Fantasy VI. I found out later that the ninja guy is not supposed to die. Spoilers. But I just forgot to save him. I played through most of Final Fantasy 10 and 12. No, I haven't played Final Fantasy 10. Which is the one with the Black Mage? It's Final Fantasy 9? I played through like half of Final Fantasy 12. What other old games have I played? Played a lot of Melee. Not really into the scene around Melee, but oh, what other old games are there? Does Overwatch count as an old game at this point? Does the original Halo count as an old game? Huh. It's almost certainly this part. Yeah. So the input is size 2. So there's your plus. There's your... Hey? Oh, I guess because we don't want to slice it. Oh, because we have the args already. Because they're pre-wrapped. It's beautiful. Okay, hold on. So we just need this part. We can guarantee that we have 2 args. And we can also guarantee that the second arg is going to be an expression list. That's how you look at it. For me, PS2 is still something new. That's retro at this point. Yeah. PS2 is pretty retro. I remember, yeah. I don't know. I don't have much to say about the PS2 except that I wish I had a PS2, but my parents are more into getting us Nintendo products because they weren't familiar with anything else, right? Because it's kind of like the trope of old people calling all games like, oh, you're playing on your Nintendo again, aren't you? I was like, no, this is actually it's just a computer game. It's not a Nintendo. But because Nintendo was the biggest thing, we only had Nintendo products, which is not bad, you know. Had a GameCube, had a Nintendo 64. Oh yeah, played a lot of GoldenEye Deathmatch. I never beat the campaign without cheats. Did I take out? I did take this out. So that's correct. Bum bum bum. Even the Wii is retro already. If you take retro to be like 15 years old, yeah. I think even like being 5 years old is already pretty old in terms of technology, right? What are the arg names? Arg names should be X, Op, Y. And then the actual input should also be in the same order. So this should be X, Op, Y. Yeah. Yes, my parents always call my DS the Nintendo. Yeah. All right, so now here's the question. Did you have like an original DS, the big chonker? Or did you have a DSi, maybe a DS Lite? I never had any DSs until I was in university. And then I got a job and was able to just buy my own DS. I got the 3DS. What a horrible product. Or I guess maybe it wasn't horrible. Some of the games are nice, but the 3D part was bad, in my opinion. So it's an array. Wait, so this evaluates properly. What the heck? Ooh? What? So this evaluated properly, but then it just failed? Yeah, this is correct. And then it tries to, yeah, arg. So now we have args. Oh. 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 I think I've been writing this wrong. I think I've been writing this wrong. Like, this is not how you're supposed to... Yeah, this is totally wrong. Like, even my lambda... Oh. Well, no, it's... Is this wrong? Wait, is this wrong? Now that's the question. Is this incorrect? The fat one, the original that I lost it and got 3DS instead. The original 3DS had bad 3D, but the new 3DS at least has stable 3D, which works quite well. I'm not sure. I own a Switch, so like enough time passed in between the 3DS and the new 3DS. I was like, you know what? I'll just get a Switch. Played a bunch of Breath of the Wild though. I think Breath of the Wild, I keep going on about it, but you might notice a pattern in like the games I like. Breath of the Wild, still in my top 3. Unfortunately, I think I would put Genshin Impact into my top 3 as well. If only because it's so, I don't know. I find it fun. It's Breath of the Wild with better combat and then also more predatory consumer tactics. And then I think I would put Guild Wars 2 up in my my top 10. Guild Wars 2, fun game. If only because you can just run around and explore the entire world. But yeah, anything that's on like the SNES era and earlier, I just don't know. Oh, what the heck? I saw a thing that did not update. My dashboard did not update. But I think I saw on my overlay, someone is now hosting me. Is that true? Am I dropping any frames? Why isn't my thing updating? Am I crazy? Yeah, or are you hosting me? I thought I saw something, didn't this pop in at some point? I know not everyone is following. Yeah, JTV, what the heck? Yeah, oh, you're hosting, oh, JT. Thank you for the host. Oh, that's what this is. I saw this. So what the heck is this, JTV? Looked at my stream monitor on my left, and I was like, I don't see anything, I'm confused. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'm usually doing something that's more visual and not as painful to debug. But here, this works. Oh, is this actually what was causing bugs in my first version of this application? That might be it. That might be it. Or that's where some of my confusion came from. So maybe functions, actually in a Lisp, right? So if you're writing a Lisp, how do you pass arguments to a function? So give me a highlang, which is what I'm basing a lot of this off of. If only because I like highlang. Or I should probably be looking at Clojure instead. I want to support all streamers I find cool, even though I'm still quite small. No problem. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Let me see. I need a code example, por favor. I guess these are the stable docs, more or less. Extra modules, literals, functions. Give me the functions. So if you do... Okay, so usually in a Lisp, yeah, you can just do Fibonacci and then you don't need to pass it in an S expression. So I think with a I need to think. This is something I'm not very good at, which is design. Most of the design I go through is like super basic. AKA just do it and then hope it works. I think there's a problem with my implementation here. So when I parse a procedure or a macro, and then macros just get parsed into a procedure, and a procedure is just another name for function, or a lambda in my case, because I don't have the idea of like a standalone like function descriptor. Everything in GDLisp is just designed to be like that one style of JavaScript programming where everything is like const x is equal to anonymous function, etc. So if this is correct, but it's not giving me something that is correct, which is obvious, I suppose. Right? This is the correct number of args, but then once we pass it, we have to bail out at some point, but we don't get any total errors or total complete failures. We just kind of bail out. Let me think. I think it's just this part I'm doing incorrectly. Like the fact, like I'm deconstructing these improperly. So like this is correct. I'm just passing arguments wrong. So I need to figure out like macros. That's a tag. I don't care about tags. Macros. Def macro takes no arguments. So when you call a macro in a Lisp, what would you expect to happen? No, actually, no. Yeah. When we're calling something in a Lisp, so like in here, you should be able to do infix 1 plus 2, and then that should... Hold on. No, I think my entire understanding is wrong. Yes. No, send me back. Undo me. I think I was more correct before. Where are we? Yes. Here, we still need to do everything based off the list. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. Although you could pass in an S expression if you wanted to, and then I think I need to handle that properly. So this is correct. This way of calling it is incorrect. Which means that the way that I've been doing it in my previous implementation of GDLisp is incorrect. So previously, you had to wrap everything like that. So if you had a macro, you had to encompass the entire macro inside another, or I guess the arguments to the macro inside of another S expression, which is, I think it's incorrect. I need to see how other people use macros. Closure infix macro. Closure tutorial. Yeah, give me the simple infix macro. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. So this is what you would expect. Yeah. And I suppose I should explain this. So I did write a Twitch bot. It's running via GDScript as well. So this is Friendly Potato Stream, free and open source, etc., etc. But you can do something like duck jump. So there are just random controls that are available as well. So you can randomize like that. Anything that you can hopefully kind of parse from here is also available in custom command. So you can make it smaller. You can also just invert yourself, I guess, if you go too small because of how I implemented making you smaller, which is actually just, I think it's adding, or it's subtracting 0.1 from your scale, which is fun. So this is correct. This is also correct. This is not correct. And then, but it should still work even if it is wrapped. So are we back to working again? We are back to working again. Okay, we are still leaking memory though. Now here, test infix. So this is actually not wrapped, right? Not wrapped, and then this should be wrapped. And then we would expect both of these to work the same way. Oh, hold on. Okay. Undo me. Bring me back to just regular wrapped. So this should work, or this should work. Hold on. Where is it? Confused. Where in the... Yeah, there we go. So this should still work. This is infix wrapped, and then infix not wrapped. Infix not wrapped should be the more correct version. Yeah, let's do that. So not wrapped is the more correct version, but it should also just work if you pass in a no. Test infix not wrapped. Hey, string and integer. So what does it change? Invalid state. Is this actually wrapped or is it not? No, because because this macro. No, that's correct because you don't want to wrap. Oh no, this should be wrapped. Yeah, this should be wrapped. This part is wrapped. List. Sorry, I'm trying to figure things out. That's fine. So this should be working now. Cannot find, yep, no, there's no base test, but we'll go back to the evaluator. Run the gut tests again. That's fine. This is more correct because this maps back to define infix to be a macro which takes in, and so square brackets are just syntactic sugar for list. So you could actually write this as list x op y, but instead we're going to use the fancy syntax so it looks different. And then this should be done as, this is what I'm expecting, is we'll do quote op quote x quote y. That's what we're expecting for the infix macro. And if we space out the other parentheses, then it becomes more clear. Because if you do just like this, then that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You need to have these wrapping parentheses here because this is a single expression. And then they're also quoted. So because of how quoting works. Yeah, because of how quoting works, this is actually how it's wrapped. Quotes actually wrap another operation, or maybe that's not true. Maybe we don't want to do that. Or no, that's not actually how quotes work either, because quotes don't actually wrap. Yeah, no, never mind. Quotes don't actually wrap things like that. They just contain a value, so that whatever the second value is whatever is going to be quoted. Where quote means just return the expression literal. Yeah. So that worked, right? Just making sure. Okay, cool. All right, I've convinced myself to go the other way. Now, for infix, if you pass in an S expression to an infix, I guess what it should try to do here, is look for the when it's doing the size check here. So if this is not true, or I guess we should check to see if this is not valid. So if the input size does not equal the expected arg names size, then what we should do is try to unwrap the inputs. So if the yeah, so if you pass in a I'm thinking if input is of size 1 and hold on, I'm gonna refill my drink and I'll be right back, I guess. I gotta think about this. What would I do in this circumstance? That's the hard part, is figuring out what's the difference between passing in your S expression like this, where it's wrapped in a containing list, and then passing in an expression like this, where it's just infix and then all your raw values. Because I think that's more correct. But I think wrapping it in a containing S expression should also be correct. But maybe I can just make it so that's wrong. I don't know. I need to think about that. Yeah, I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. All right, I had a good think about it. And I kind of realized that if you're putting something inside of an S expression, it should just try to evaluate, right? Yeah, so if you just have a thing in an S expression, you should just try to evaluate it. So this is actually not a valid test whatsoever. Because what happens is that we've wrapped it in an S expression, and that S expression is 100 divided 2, so it tries to pass in, it tries to call the 100 function, and of course there's no such thing as a 100 function, and then passes the result of that, which is null, to infix, which doesn't work. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. You know what? Yeah, after saying it out loud, there we go. It's beautiful, I think. Run me again. Okay. So my logic was a bit suspect, but I think we're good. I think we're good. I'm not sure how many changes we made since the last time I pushed my code, but we can push it. Everything is free and open source, by the way, so if you ever wanted to take a peek at what the heck I'm ever working on. The only things I don't really open source are my games. Unless it's like a test game. Or like a game jam. Game jam games are also usually open source, but like any real game that I'm working on, so you might see here that I have something that I'm working on called Incremental Fighter. I've got an idea. I'm working on it. It's not going to be open sourced. But libraries, open sourced. Game jams, stuff, open source. What was the last thing? CI tests, evaluator kind of working. All right. So git commit lambdas and macros may be working. Starts code snippets for GD script generation. All right, there we go. There's the full rewrite. All right, let's continue on, I guess. I just need to find syntax quoting and unquoting. Yeah, I would like to have like quasi-quoting and unquotes, but we'll get there when we get there. What else is needed? Because I think I have lists working, dictionaries also probably working, and they all use the same syntax. So I kind of treat, and this might not be correct, right? But I treat arrays and dictionaries as almost the same data structure with almost the same like API interface. So here we have a class called a GDL, GD Lisp collection. And so you'll always have set, which takes a key value pair. So for dictionaries, that's obvious. You set the key in the hash map or key in the map, set it equal to the value. But for an array, it must be an index to a value. And then, of course, then we have other things, right? So you can append, push, pop, duplicate. Yeah, and the reason why I have to wrap them is because you cannot use the same syntax that I'm using. So here, when I'm calling something that's on an object, I have to use call func, which is, by the way, it's a built-in thingy, more or less. Actually, does this work? Yeah, you know what? I haven't actually tried that. Let's try that. So let's do like a test. Built-ins test collections. Let's do a collections test. Collections. Test list push. Or a test, we'll just do test list, right? That's fine. So RE is an expression new, which is going to be an expression. It's a list because this is just the raw AST that we're working with now. So exp, new, exp type symbol. So this is going to be list. Yeah. Yeah, and then it can be an empty list, right? Yeah. Right? Actually, is that how it works here in GDML? So I can do like a def x, which is an empty list. Is that valid? Yeah. And then I can do like a print x. Yeah, that makes sense. You need to look at the inspector. Yeah, GDL collection wrapper. Yeah, see, there we go. There we go. So that's valid, and empty lists are also valid here. So I think I'm just gonna do an empty list here. So var resource, what we're looking for is a null value out of this. So expression new, xp type list. Well, I think this should just work, right? If we just evaluate this directly. Which means, now we'll just do it like that, that's fine. No, we'll do it like this. Haha. Very indecisive. So that's fine. And then we want to hit this with an assert null. If not assert null, then we'll want to return. But then this is now, oh, hold on. No, that's not how this works. Because we need to assign this to a variable. What am I doing? exp new exp type list, and so exp new exp type symbol, we'll call this x, not assert null. Right, that should be valid. So let's run it really quick. I'm always running this in the editor, because if you ever like not run this, like I do have the VS Code runner installed for this, but if I, you know, just don't use it and I run into an error, then I had to, you know, use the command line interface, which is kind of a pain to have to work with. Like, I don't mind using the command line, or the terminal, the shell, if you will, but I'm a visual kind of guy. So res, evaluator, run, exp new, type symbol, Let me see. So this is, what does the syntax look like? Oh no. Okay. How does it work here? How does it work here? Or let me just hit it with a, what is the help? Help syntax. Okay, here we go. Creates a table. Yeah. Oh, curses. I'm just a huge dummy. How did I do this before? Oh, hello, Bumsy. Hello, how are you? How are you? I'm still working on the Lisp stuff. I think I have macros and lambdas working now. So now I just need to write tests to, so I make sure I know what I'm doing. Let's see, test table. Test list. I don't think I ever tested like getting and setting values from lists for whatever reason. I think I'm a big dummy. Yeah, I don't think I have any tests for these. All right, well, is it done? Send it? No, it's already been sent multiple times, and I had to reconvince myself how like S expressions worked. Because previously, let me just drag this over here. I think I was, in my head, I had the idea that doing like def infix, you know, then the infix would take in an X operator Y. I had it in my head that doing something like quote X, quote, or no, it would be quote operator, quote X, quote Y would be valid. But it's absolutely not valid. I don't know why I was thinking that though. Or even something like, or actually, and that's not even valid to begin with. That's not how you would do it. You would have to do it like define macro X operator Y. Then you would need to rearrange it all, right? Because it's an S expression, right? is that how that works? I having trouble just keeping it in my head. Yeah, because because a macro just rearranges the AST. Yeah, so it doesn't actually parse it. And then I turn the AST into basically like a really temporary procedure, basically a function. Not really a Lisp guy, sadly. Yeah, not really me either, but I think the idea of it's really cool. Forget too much. Yeah, but what I'm thinking here is now I have X, and then what we can do, so check it out, if we print X, nothing shows up unless you go to the console because it's printed in the console. Ignore this part. And ignore all the red. It's because I did something bad. But so we can see that X is now a GDL collection wrapper. So then, how do you call functions? How do you call functions on classes again? So how does highlang do it? Oh, it's uses dot syntax. Oh, good. How did I do this here? How did I do this here? So if I go to, I don't have a procedure. Did I just never implement this? Oh, I really hope that's not the case. Oh no. Okay. Closure, collections, lists. We're not quoting it. How do we don't want to peek at it. We can pop whatever. Okay. So are these built-in functions? Hold on. Because I have the API, right? It makes it really easy, but I don't think, oh no, I don't have it. Like it's I don't know. I need to find a more complicated macro in order to test this with, because I remember that infix was the only macro that worked with GD Lisp, my initial run of GD Lisp. And if you go any more nested than that, then it starts to break. Or it doesn't start to break, it explodes immediately. But how do you call functions on objects? Because I used to have that ability. I thought I at least programmed that in. Huh. So what if you do the X? Yeah, this just gives you X and then I just print it out. Yeah. But then you don't have the ability to do like X set X1 1. Or how did this work before? So GDL array question mark. Where is it? I know I did that. Yeah. Set gets duplicates append. Is it just append x1? Can I do that? Undefined symbol. Yes. Okay. I don't think I ever... You know what? I might not have ever done that. Hello, Needle Mouse. How are you? Hello, hello. No macros? I do have macros. So, check it out. Like this infix macro still works. Actually, the way that the infix macro is defined here is totally wrong. In my current build, it works a lot better. Yeah, so this is not actually how you're supposed to do an infix macro. How I have it working right now is actually how you're supposed to do it, which is basically you take out this part. So this is what your infix macro should look like, but every time I press Control Enter, it's actually breaking, which is where all the red is coming from. So if you want to play with it, by the way, check it out. Learning Godot stuff so I can get ready for the bullet heck jam. Nice, nice. I think I might want to try to put something together for that as well. I have an idea. But I think the hardest part about any bullet hell is handling all of the, you know, the entities on screen all at once. So I think, especially if you're exporting to the web, you'll probably start running into performance hits. I don't know, actually. I don't know. Maybe I should think about it more. Bullets, yeah, yeah, all the bullets on screen, right? Like I've shared that before on stream. I had it saved somewhere. I don't know. Where is it? Is it? Yeah, how to drawing a metric ton of bullets. Yeah, have I showed you this before? So someone did this in Godot, and then instead of using like individual nodes for everything, they instead used the physics server. And I think they were just manually drawing everything using a custom drawer. But I think that you could further optimize by also using the visual server. I was trying to find that. Yeah, it's a good. I wanted to give this a test as well. I wanted to give this a test. Actually, is this released? Oh, it is released. Look at that. The game was successfully funded. Is it done? Indiegogo. Look at that. How much was it funded for? $25,000? That's pretty good. Very fair. Oh, there's a demo out. Yeah, so you can play the demo. It looks good. Maybe bevy time? No, absolutely not. Well, I suppose if we're going to bevy, you can always check it out. I did write a thing already. If you remember a few weeks ago when I was doing this project. So the Pong with bevy and rapier. I think the benefits of using a visual editor it's almost immeasurable. Like it's super helpful. Lots of people don't really realize it though. I think I really struggle when doing things entirely via code. I think it fits. Yeah. I mean, there's no restriction on which engine you can use for the bullet hell jam. But I am, you know, to thine own self be true. I struggle a lot when I don't have a visual component. Like, I need to be able to see it. I don't need to be able to see it, but I'm going to be a lot more effective if I can see what I'm doing. All right. Anyways, I think I never implemented array functions. So I need to implement array functions. Let's get started. Or I guess I never implemented like class access. So there's no period. There's no period, which is a problem. Want to try to use bevy for a full-fledged game? You gotta try to go into source code yourself because I wouldn't say it's polished, but it's still in its early phases. Bevy, I think it's polished enough. Like it's okay. I think the problem with Bevy is that there's not enough tutorials. Like, I think the biggest thing that's preventing me from using Bevy is I can't figure out how to structure a game. Right? Like, because Bevy is entirely ECS focused. So when it comes to structuring your ECS world, I don't quite understand how I'm supposed to do that. I'm almost certain there are tutorials out there, but I just haven't found them yet. But I don't know. The way that I've always imagined structuring your game, right, is that you'll have, right, is that you'll kind of like optionally load in several chunks. So like this is a world, this is a world, this is a world, right? Like this is how I imagine structuring things. So this is all your ECS worlds. But I think how Bevy is currently structured is that you need to have just your big super world, and then you have your, you know, your smaller worlds inside of that, which looks very, very similar for sure. But you need to remember that this is also just its own internal world. So then how do you handle that? I don't quite understand that bit. Right? Because this outer world is also still ECS based, whereas if you go with the top implementation, you still have some imperative, you know, like we're pushing things onto the stack. So you'll push your world onto the stack, take it off the stack, push your other world onto it, etc. So it's not system based, right? You can add and remove these at will, but then how does it work in this lower one? Because now they're all loaded in at all at the same time. You're supposed to have many worlds. Well, how do you load in levels in Bevy, right? Because I understand you have your game world, but then how do you manage, you know, title screen? How do you manage menu screen? Or is everything just in the same thing and you just need to manage the stack yourself? Like you actually need to approach it with a stack-based approach. Unload part of your... See, that's the thing. I don't think you can do that in Bevy. I think you need to preload everything. At least from what I've seen. Yeah, like I didn't see any API for loading in new worlds. You can load in a sub-world and then don't initialize it, I think. See, that's the confusing part, is I don't quite understand that bit. And I haven't really seen anyone who's done like a full game that made a lot of sense, at least. I was looking at the Rust Game Dev newsletter. Yeah, this month in Rust Game Dev working group. Where's the newsletter? That's intro to Bevy, question mark. March, was March? Yeah, this one. So you can look at a few of these, but I don't remember how many of these have like title screens. Like some of these just don't have title screens. Like you just immediately load into your game. Yeah, so here's your, here's your intro screen. Some sort of module. I don't know why it has its own module. But then if you look at this, remember intro plugin, and then you look at main, you can see here that they just load in everything, question mark. So then how do you manage it? It's like the I don't get it. I don't get it. How do you determine which thing to jump into? Right, because I'm assuming that's, yeah, these are systems as well. And you have your bundles, you start game, and then you set your game state. Yeah, you have your, basically your state is like your stack. You have a stack of states, but then how do you jump from state to state? World loader class to load levels, but then that would still need to, remember in Bevy everything in Bevy, I guess besides the resources, I suppose. But then you can't really call things from resources. You can call things on a resource, but from a resource you cannot call into the world, I think. Unless you explicitly call it and then use that result, right? It's not like Godot where you can just have like a singleton somewhere that's doing stuff. As far as I understand. Maybe that's wrong. Yeah. So like, but that's my question: is how do you call back into the world that switch your state? I need an explanation. I need an explanation. Like how do you like here? I get it, right? Game state, set state, game state, menu, yeah. And then there is a menu plugin here, yeah. But then how do you get from your menu plugin to like your intro plugin or your where's even your game plugin? I don't even know, right? So I've looked through it and I was like, I think that makes sense. That goes with what I understand ECSs or how ECSs should work. But like, how do you? What's the good way of going from screen to screen? You know, Godot is easy. You just call change screen and then you just unload everything that's in your scene tree, and then go back to whatever you need it to be. You know, unload everything, then load something back in. So that's why I'm not using Bevy entirely. I'm okay with just using the ECS. All right, right here, period. I think a period is totally valid. I feel like it should be straightforward though. Yeah, but I don't know. Can you explain it? It's not something that makes a lot of sense to me. But I know that I'm having a lot of trouble visualizing it in my head, right? Because it's not the standard way of thinking about things. So once I have that one question answered, I might have a few other questions, and then after that, then you know, then I might be good. You know, I just need that breakthrough moment. All right, like I get how you structure an ECS in theory. I just have a few, you know, little tiny things that I get caught up on. You know, that's a personal failing, to be sure. It's a personal failing where I just don't understand how something should work, right? Anime, yeah. Still have not watched any new anime. You know what I have read? And what have I read? Never mind, I haven't read anything new recently. What have I read recently? I've read this? All You Need Is Kill? I've read this? That's crazy. Anyways, I've not read anything new either. Don't those reviews have any games I can change? I might check it out. Yeah. No, yeah. What I showed you before, what I was showing before, this one switches basically levels, right? It switches screens. Like that's what I don't get, is how do you switch from screen to screen? Like I get like you have an in-game pause menu, which is just you add something to the stack, or I guess you just don't show it, so it's just loaded into memory. That makes sense to me. But what's a good pattern for loading from screen to screen? Because I also see that Bevy has the capability for subworlds. I don't know, like I just need a pattern. Give me a pattern and I can figure out the rest from there. Why would you use an ECS world to display? Yeah, that's also another thing, right? But here's the menu, right? But that's the problem with Bevy, is that Bevy only has menus, or it only has ECS world. Do you recommend me the anime called The Demon Girl Next Door? No, I do not. It sounds very degenerate, but let me see. The Demon... Oh, hold on. The Demon Girl Next Door. Is this lewd? This sounds lewd. Yeah. Yeah, probably not. This is an anime? Oh, it's from a 4-koma? I don't really read 4-komas. I read a 4-koma before. If only because I was very bored one day and I just decided to read the entire thing. No, I do not. But if you are into comedy, I guess it can't be too bad. But yeah, here is the menu plugin. Like I get this part, right? So if you right on initialization. You have your on enter state, on exit, and on update, and then you just do all of this stuff, right? That makes sense to me. This all makes sense, but then it's like, once you start putting everything together, that's when I don't really understand anymore. Like, why you set you add plugin here, and then you set your initial game state as menu, but then how do you go to how do I get from here to here? Right, here's your menu plugin. You set your game state to menu. Is there an update? No. Yeah, I don't get it. Right? Like, how do I get from here to here? Here. Is there a start game? Yeah, no, start game just loads in everything. Yeah. And then it just spawns the cameras and whatever. Right? So if you can explain to me how we get from line 88, add plugin, menu plugin, how do we get to line 88 from line 124? I think I would be good, right? It's just that layer of indirection I don't quite get. Or actually, hold on. Does that use the ECS? And then in the menu? Wait, is it on update? No. Yeah, no, there's nothing in here that specifically... Oh, wait. No, wait. Does it have something to do with this? So are these just like hooks? Are these hooks? So this just is a system set, but then it just listens for on enter, on exit. So when we set the on enter, or when we set the game state here, so game state set, game state menu, and then this activates the menu, and then we enter it, then we go here. Oh. You know what? I've talked my way into understanding. I've talked my way into understanding. It's pretty sick. Sorry, I kind of shouted that last sentence. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so these are events. So I guess these are like events you can subscribe to, but they are very specific events. So you need to be listening for the game state, I guess. And so then whenever it detects that you enter the game state menu, then it will run the enter game states. And then on updates for this specific game state, it will run this update function. Ah. And then once you leave this game state, so I guess like system set, like on exit, whatever, right? This must have its own event loop. Yeah, that might make sense. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I think I figured it out. I think I figured it out. I was complaining for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes about how I don't understand Bebby, but now it all makes sense. So you do need to pre-register everything, which is still kind of something that's something that's kind of weird, but I suppose that makes sense. You do need to pre-register everything with the app first. I'm not sure if you're able to add things at runtime. I'm not sure. I've never. I'm still. That's something that's another question I still need answered. So you need to read properly. Did you know that beforehand? When we were still at here to here, did you know that? I don't know. Like it's not something that just clicks, right? Like I need someone to. It would be helpful if someone was just like, hey, like this is exactly what you need to be looking at. Right? Because I only have a few small questions, right? So how do we get from here to here? Once you can explain that, I have another question, which is, can I add things at runtime? Which I'm still not sure if you can do. It sets the state to activate the menu. Well, yeah, but then how would you, as a normal person, know that this connects to here? Yeah, somewhere in the code it does a thing, right? Like clearly, because this is the only start game function. But then how would you know? How would you know, right? Like how would you know to look at, you know, like all this says is a game state menu. So then you can, I guess you can clearly make the connection, right? That like, oh, game state menu must refer to something about the menu plugin. But then you go to here and all right, well, this says on enter, on exit. So what? And it relates to the game state, but then you need to make the assumption that, oh, this is the same game state menu, but this says add, but this is actually more of an event listener. It's not actually like adding a thing that is running all the time, right? This is just an event listener, but that's not what it says. It says add a system set. So how would you just know, right? Right, I would expect something that says like a listener, because otherwise, you know, your eyes just kind of glaze over it. You know, oh, it's adding a thing that's running. Because when you add something, it's running, right? When you add a listener, it's also just running, but it's listening for a specific action, right? Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Like I don't read. I don't read the entire code, by the way. Like it's not that I'm very fast at reading, although I am able to read very fast, but I don't actually read the entire sentence. It's only when you start to drill down, it's like, oh, what does this mean? On enter, and then you have to make the connection. Like, okay, so on enter, then we run this once. Because of knowing the framework more, I guess. Like if you read the documentation though, right? Bevy docs rs. Like you can look for add system set. Oh, that's not here, right? System set. So adds a system set to the update stage. What does that mean? Adds a system set to the update stage. Sure. What is a system set? A system set is a builder for describing several systems at the same time. What does that mean? You know, knowing the framework more. I'm reading the framework code, but what does this mean? The update stage is the stage, and it's part of the default stages, right? So you have your startup stage, your run once stage, and your end stage. Like I know that part, but then it's this part that doesn't really make a lot of sense. What does that mean? So on enter, so then you need to know that system set has a few hooks attached to it. So you need to know that on enter does a thing. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of small things that you just need to know. It's okay, system set is a thing, and then it has a few inner functions that you need to know about. So on enter is an important one, on exit an important one, on pause an important, right? And also, by the way, wait, is this? Yeah. Does this also mean that you're not able to implement anything else for this? So this is, it's a struct, it's not a trait. So what if you wanted to customize this? See, that's, I guess you can't customize it. I suppose there's not too many other states you could be in. So anything else that you wanted to be in could be an on update, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Any custom stuff should be in on update. Yeah, alright, well, I guess that makes sense. Anyways, we're done drilling down into that. Either way, I'm not using Bevy. I'm not using Bevy. Not yet, anyways. Maybe I'll make Pong one of these days. And then we'll see how easy it is. We'll make Pong with a main menu. How about that? Main menu and an options menu. The most complicated part of it is switching screens. I think that's honestly one of the harder things about anything, right? Like well, anything that isn't in a code structure that you already know. So, you know, when I was working with raylib, you might have used raylib before, right? So raylib, pretty sick. Like when I wrote a game with that, I just did everything just on the stack. How did I make it work? I could not tell you, but it totally worked. So I generated a bunch of like entities, pushed it onto the stack, loaded the screen first, and then loaded a bunch of entities into essentially a list, and then pushed it onto the stack as well. And then when we unloaded it, we just pushed everything off of this, or popped everything from the stack, right? Raylib, pretty sick. Would recommend. Has a bunch of bindings because it's a C library, not even C++, so it goes everywhere. Works with everything. So like that makes sense, right? Because it's not ECS based. It's just very, very Spartan. Whereas like where Spartan means that it's very, it doesn't have a lot of tooling to go along with it. Yeah, I would like to use raylib or something one of these days, but like that's a design pattern that makes, that's a programming pattern that makes sense to me. So anything that's new, I think I need like, I need a few questions answered. You know, it's just like when I was learning calculus, right? When I learned it when I was in high school, I just had no idea what I was doing, right? And then once I, you know, decided in university that I should probably learn how to do these things correctly, went into office hours, asked some like really dumb questions, and I was like, oh, you know what? It all makes sense now. It all makes sense. You know, calculus 1. Like I took calculus in high school. I took the exemption classes that they always have. And failed them all. As is expected from someone like me. But you know, if not has enough args. So this needs at least 2, by the way. Yeah, so I asked a few dumb questions, and then I went from like failing every exam. Like I failed at almost every, I didn't fail almost every exam, but I was like a straight C student in high school to still being a straight C student in university, but that's because I was, you know, aced every exam, failed every, got like a 0 on all the homework. You know. Oh, I do not understand what you're doing and what language you are speaking. Cool, very cool. You don't understand English? Question mark? I think your English sentence that you posted was pretty good. But what I am writing right now, so check it out. If you want to check it out for yourself, I am writing a Lisp in Godot. The source code is available on GitHub as well, but the original implementation is kind of scuffed. So I am redoing it because I have written a bunch of other tooling to go with it. So Advanced Expression GD allows me to transpile this from like a GD script language just down to regular GD scripts. It's kind of weird. But yeah, you know, I think a lot of topics for me, going back to the previous subject, a lot of topics for me, I like understand at a high level, but then there's just a lot of little basic things that I don't quite get. You know, like I think like when we're talking about in calculus, like I didn't understand integrals for like a long while until someone was just like, hey, you know, like an integral is just like the area of this shape. And I was like, wait a minute, really? Integral is just the area? Oh, integral is just the area. And then like instead of like a triangle having like the hypotenuse being a straight line, the hypotenuse is just an equation. Oh, it makes so much sense, you know? Or like when we're talking about like calculus 2, if you will, it was like You know, the hard part about calculus 2 was like series, right? I didn't understand what the heck a series was. Why are we simplifying a series? And then had to explain to me, like, basically for any series, you're just trying to simplify it down to 1 over n. Whereas n over 1. It's one of those things. I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And then everything that you can pull out of it is like that's the fancy bit, right? Like that's what you're usually looking for when you're solving those equations. You know, multivariable calculus, I didn't get it. And then they were just like, okay, just imagine like integrals, but in 3D. And I was like, wait a minute. So you calculate a cube, everything is just a straight line, but in 3D, oh. Just imagine you're calculating the area of like a triangle, but just add in another dimension. Oh. You know, it's the small things, at least for me. It's like, oh, like how is this guy like a functioning adult? And let me tell you, I have no idea. I have no idea. Could not tell you. Could not tell you. So, this page might be helpful. What am I looking at? System params. Assets. File formats. Bundles, yeah. UI, resource. Engine resources, that looks interesting. Nope. No, scene spawner, but direct control respawning scenes into the main app world. But how about control over spawning scenes into any sub worlds? Built-in types, built-in types. What am I looking for? Built-in types, built-in types, built-in types, types. Special types that can be used as system parameters. Asset types. What am I looking at? Components? No. What am I looking at? What am I looking at? I thought which one of these describes how to go from screen to screen? Yeah. The whole page is, yeah. That's what I thought, is that, yeah, these are built-ins, but like how does this describe how to go from screen to screen? Question mark. Yeah, like maybe like sub apps that might be interesting. Or like screen management, like how do I like all of this doesn't I don't care, right? Like I'll learn it if I need to learn it, but I need the very basics at the very least. Yeah, because like I get everything else, right? Everything else is just like, this is a type, we'll figure it out, right? Yeah. You know, sick. I get it. But how do you go, like, describe to me the pattern of going to a screen to another screen. That's the important part. And then where does a sub-world factor into just the main world, right? I need like those two things explained, and then also if it's possible to add a system at runtime, and if it is that like idiomatic or what, right? All right, so what we're looking for, actually we're looking for at least 3 args. We're looking for at least 3 args. Getting back to like what we're actually supposed to be working on, which is the programming language. Yeah, looking more. Yeah, see, I've looked a lot, but I've never seen like a pattern. Like I just want the pattern. Like give me the pattern and I can figure out the rest. Right? Once you know how the pattern works, that's when you can start to break it. Right? That's why I feel so confident in whatever the heck I'm doing with Godot, is because Godot is very object oriented. I understand how object orientation works, right? And that's why I feel comfortable just not doing it. It's like, yeah, like we don't need this bit of object orientation. Like encapsulation, that's for scrubs. Everyone, here's all the data, figure it out, you know? At least that's the approach that I took with GDML. I don't know if that was the correct approach, but I think a lot of like, you know, super adherence to pattern is like cargo culty, right? Where cargo cult refers to the idea that you do something not because you understand it, but because it's produced a result for you before, right? Which I am not a fan of. But sometimes I do subscribe to that idea, unfortunately. All right, so if not has enough args, so I need to grab the object. So var object is equal to run list one with this scope. So if not objects, so this should always be an object. So if object is null, then we'll just return print error, unable to find object, to call, and then argument 3, which will be at index 2, will be the function to call. So I guess we'll just try to call it. How would that work? I guess I didn't realize that I never implemented functions. So we do scope value, scope finds. I guess we might not want to immediately bail out. Yeah. I guess this one should just be like an empty return, right? And test evaluator, we'll just skip this test, we don't want it. Make sure everything still runs. Run it all. Please, please, please. Yes, let's go. Okay, bring me back. It's always a little scary when you're make a big change. It's always a bit scary when you make a big change like this. Instead of continuing, we just return a null value. So let's see. So scope value, if scope value is null, then how do we figure out if this exists? Okay, so what we can do is actually, so if object has method list2 value. So we'll take the direct value here. So if not, object has method, and I think this is somewhere where I would like to do like a preprocessor step for like the GDScript code as a whole, right? So it's like in debug mode, we'll want to run these like runtime checks, but in release mode, we'll just, you know, just send it, dude. I don't know. Just send it, we don't care. So if not object has method, then print error. Object does not have method. Object this thing does not have method that thing. So string object, that's how you do it. Object, and then string list2. Yeah, then we'll just return null. Then otherwise, then we'll do, I guess it should technically also be possible to define a class So I think what I should have, so in addition to like lambda, macro, and whatever, I should have like class, right? So let's add this under macro, so class. So we'll do it in the same way as we did like lambdas and macros, right? So in order to define a class, it'll be like define, you know, person is define person, and then new S expression, class, whatever. Otherwise, it's just like a no op, or it is like a single op that is not stored, right? Yeah, and then class will have to have like a custom set of parsing rules in order to parse like variables, and then every variable is just stored on the class, and then that class will be stored in the scope. Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? Yeah, I like that. Ugh. Oh man, there's a lot of things in my Discord. What the heck? Why is everyone posting when I'm streaming? Ah! I'm not able to monitor it. And I also need to rewrite my bot. My bot is like just spamming my. I have a built-in error checker in my bot, and it's not working, or it is working, but it's spamming my error logs. Yeah, I think I would like to rewrite it in Rust probably, but right now it's in Go, and Go is also pretty nice because Go has really nice facilities for messaging across coroutines. Are Go routines coroutines, or are they like actual separate threads? That's something I'm still not super clear on. I know it has like built-in like channel structs, which are really nice, but I don't remember if those run as like, I don't know. So if not, object has value, whatever. Otherwise, I think we'll need the check to see what type of object this is. So I think we'll have like several types of, or like I guess two types of objects, right? So there's like the basic type of objects, which are what GDL dictionaries and GDL arrays. So these are almost like primitive types, but not really. And then I should also have just like a GDL object, which is what will be created for everything else, maybe. So we'll do class GDL object. And the reason why I'm doing everything in one file, by the way, is that I want to have access to this thing. And by this thing, I mean this. So you see how we have result classes, which are really only used in like the tokenizer and parser. But if you split these things up into separate files, what will happen is that you'll run into like a cyclic reference, a circular reference, which is kind of a pain. Oh, hello, Rogue Nation. Hello. No time to see. How are you? I'm doing okay. I'm back on my BS in writing a programming language in Godot. But how are you? I've realized that I made a few mistakes when I was first writing a GD Lisp. The first one is probably the fact that it didn't have any like unit tests. But that's because I had no idea what I was doing, right? And now I have slightly more idea what I was doing. I don't know, I was doing a hand motion. I was doing a hand motion with my hand. I was doing slightly more. But I forget that I'm not actually doing a real face cam. I actually like leaned up next to the camera and did like the hand motion. I've been doing a lot more video calls for work recently. But What improvements does it have over GDScript? So in terms of improvements over GDScript, and you can check it out for yourself, right? The old version of it, it's kind of weird, but that's kind of what I'm referencing. And then the thing here, the actual GitHub is here. The improvements are that it's about 100 times slower, but you can write user code at runtime, as evidenced by the fact that I have a REPL that is just currently running. And then the third improvement, I guess there's only two improvements. One of them is actually a detriment. The third improvement is I've written this library here, Advanced Expression GD, which is basically, it takes Godot's built-in expression class, which only takes in like a single line, right? I wrote this so that you can have like very complicated expressions by programmatically constructing a GDScript script. So based off of that, I can take this evaluator, and instead of immediately evaluating it, I instead call Advanced Expression GD scripts and then starts, you know, programmatically calling functions on it based off of some of these, you know, keywords, right? And so in this new version, I can take a GD Lisp script or set of scripts and then generate corresponding GD scripts so that there is, we take out one of the interpreters, right? Because GDScript is already interpreted, and then what I'm writing right now is the actual interpreter for GD Lisp, so it's double interpreted, which is pretty, you know, that explains why it's about 100 times less efficient. But then we can either ahead of time compile or just in time, JIT or AOT compile down to GDScript so that we hopefully get roughly the same performance. And that's the exciting part. I did not write this Advanced Expression GD explicitly for GD Lisp, but I realized, I was like, wait a minute, this could totally work. This could totally work, and it could be pretty sick. Now, why you would want to do this like in an actual app though, there's a few reasons. One is that you have macros that can change at runtime. I guess this would rely on the user like just-in-time compiling scripts though, which isn't like it's not horrible, I guess. And then two, I'm also planning on having like namespaces, which is something that GDScript doesn't really have either. Like you can have like there are workarounds for implementing namespaces, but they're kind of weird, right? So you can do like a bunch of preloads. It's similar to how Rust does a modular RS, a mod RS. But I'm not a huge fan of doing that. Yeah, but mostly it's just interesting. I haven't seen anyone else do it. All the Reddit posts I've seen about like, oh, check it out, and running scripts at runtime. You know, it's just using the expression class, and it's super lame. But here, we have something that's actually interesting. So Advanced Expression constructs scripts at runtime. And then this GD Lisp is a language implemented in GDScript that can compile down to GDScript at runtime, which is the cool part. But yeah, that's my spiel. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Whereas my friends in school used to say, thank you for attending my Tim Talk. Yeah, if you're looking for anyone to filibuster for you, by the way, I'm available for hire. I think I've gotten pretty good at just spouting off, I should say, BS for minutes at a time. Perhaps with more study, I can go for even longer, just like talking really quickly, right? Or for talking really quickly, and also for a long amount of time. Because there's a lot of grammatical constructs in English that really allow you to stretch out a sentence for as long as possible. For example, the sentence that I just said. So you can use like the Chinese or Japanese style word repetition. So really, you can stretch out a word, because unlike Japanese, Chinese does not have long vowels. Japanese does have long vowels. English has optional long vowels if you want. So you can do long instead of just long. So in Japanese, a long vowel is actually a separate sound from a short vowel, which is kind of interesting. Chinese does not have it. And when I say Chinese, I mean only Mandarin. I can't speak to Cantonese or any other dialect. But English is pretty flexible, so it's easy to just artificially extend your sentence with using a few easy things. And also just the fact that English has a lot of words that are very, very similar. They mean the same thing, which is the same as similar, which is another thing I tend to use. I'll repeat the same idea twice, but with different words. And then if you're not listening very hard, it sounds like I just said this. It sounds like I just made 2 separate points, but actually I just said the same thing twice. So what am I thinking here? So we're checking for that method. I guess for GDL object, I can re-implement this. So or object or not. So if object is null, or hold on, we're thinking, because there's 2 things that this could be. There's 2 things that this could be. Maybe I should have GDL collection extend a GDL object. Because what I'm thinking is, yeah, has method is technically available on every single class or every single object, right? Which is a built-in thing. So func has object or has method. Sorry, has method. That's what we want. Has method, a string, some sort of bool, and then we want to check for. That's not true. That's not true. So basically you run it while a code is running like a website. Interesting. Yeah, basically. It's kind of like running a web. Well, running a website is slightly different because instead of writing your own interpreter, the web browser is your interpreter. So I guess it's almost the same concept anyways. It doesn't really matter. You plan on teaching Mandarin and will grow your viewership to hundreds? Oh, absolutely not. My Mandarin is really bad. My Mandarin is really bad. My written Mandarin, also pretty bad. I'm almost literate though. I'm nearly literate in Mandarin. Or not Mandarin. I'm almost literate in simplified Chinese, sorry. You don't read Mandarin. There's no such thing as reading Mandarin Chinese. I guess the kind of cool part about the Chinese language as a whole is because at some point they just decided to standardize the writing system for a bunch of completely separate languages, which is bizarre, but also like really cool. So like even though like the languages are spoken completely differently, I guess the only difference between the writing systems is like word choice and like word order, I think. Like there are some dialects that cannot be written in Chinese, I think. I'm definitely not the expert in talking about this though. But like Cantonese and Mandarin are not mutually intelligible. You can kind of pick out certain words for sure, but the tones are completely different. Sounds are actually closer to Japanese in my experience. Has method. This doesn't make a difference, by the way. This is more of just like a thing. Maybe GDL object. Yeah, you know stroke order, right? Yeah, I do know stroke order. I've never studied it. I'm literate, but I cannot write. I can only write using my, like if I use, I can write in pinyin almost. You know, yeah, oh, that's not how you do it. 我叫 Tim. Tim. How do I switch back to English? That's Japanese. Tim. You know. 客人欢迎光临 stream. I don't know how to say stream. What the heck is stream in Chinese? 今天我会做 programming. 我会做 yeah, I don't know how to say like create. I guess will make, will work, and or will cook. Programming language. Is programming like programming 语? 汉语? Like no, that's yeah, no. No. Actually, how do you pronounce that character? You can teach basic Chinese? No, my pronunciation is probably not very good. I would not rely on that for sure. I would not rely on that. If not, has method, and not methods has method, turn false. What is this? Methods has method. Oh, method. Yeah, no, there's a lot of like specialized terminology that I just don't know about. So, like I know enough to be able to read, and then I can figure out the rest from context. Like a lot of the basic grammar, got it down. But speaking, hard. Listening, hard. Writing, hard. Reading, not too hard. 我叫 studio, nice. You know, yeah, I am called studio. I think somewhat amusingly is that my literacy in Japanese is also about the same as my literacy in Chinese, as long as a Japanese sentence is using lots of kanji, because then I can just kind of figure it out. I won't be able to say it out loud. Like in Chinese, at the very least, I might be able to say it out loud. But in Japanese, I'll be speaking like a mixture of like Japanese, English, and then Chinese, which is not intelligible. But I'll personally know what it means. Which is also kind of amusing that like Japanese has so many ways of, I guess, introducing yourself. You know. Because there's so many politeness modifiers. I'm not a linguist, but there's so many ways of politely introducing yourself. Whereas in Chinese, there's really only like a few modifiers, and then I guess you can just speak really formally. Picked up a bit from a Taiwanese streamer that's teaching Chinese for free. Totally blowed up that stream. Yeah, well, Chinese is not something that you can just pick up, especially if you are speaking English. It's definitely not an easy language to learn, especially if you are, especially if you are only know a Western language, because tones are really hard to teach. Like I still don't pronounce the tones correctly. It's very obvious that I'm a American, or I guess not a Chinese. I don't natively speak Chinese or Mandarin. You can definitely tell that I don't speak Cantonese, for sure. Cantonese is tough. It's like, what is it, like, there's 7 tones? Like, Mandarin, well, 7 plus 1, and then Mandarin has 4 plus 1, where the plus 1 is just the whatever you want tone. Right, so you like to say, like, you know, what? Like, or it's more of like an interrogative, you know, like question mark, audible question mark, 什么? 什么? And then ma is just whatever you want it to be. But I think 神, right? Translate. Just gonna make sure. Is this gonna give me pinyin? Pinyin? 神吗? How do you pronounce this? No, it's tone 2. See, I was even pronouncing it wrong. 神吗? I said it was tone 3 and I was pronouncing it like tone 3, but actually it's tone 2, second tone. Yeah. But see, the last bit of the word does not have a tone attached to it, which is tone 5 technically, which is not totally, it's not completely correct, but it's close enough because no one will question you on it. They will question you on, though they will question you if you say it's tone 5 because there's no such thing as tone 5. But then no one really questions why, like, how you're supposed to pronounce it then. Right? There's no tone, but it's not tone 5. What does that mean? You know, it's whatever you want it to be. So it's the same thing as having a tone 5, but that's besides the point. Yeah, the Taiwanese Chinese is not the same as like mainland China Chinese. Or if you want to make a lot of enemies, is CCP Chinese is not the same as ROC Chinese. Cha? Yeah. Cha means T as well as bad in Cantonese. Cantonese is weird. I don't know if cha means bad in Cantonese. I guess it could. It might just be slang. Like, Cantonese has a lot of slang, which is why it's so hard to... Which is why it's really hard to understand and learn, is because, like, I'm going to pronounce some parts of this wrong, right? So there's like, I know some slang is to say ambulance, you don't say how do you say ambulance? 警察? No. Oh man, how do you say ambulance in Mandarin? Well, it depends on, it's because there's 7 tones, where there's a million tones. I don't know, but no, ambulance, no, you don't say ambulance like you say ambulance in Mandarin. So I know in Cantonese you say the equivalent of 白车. No, 白车 in Mandarin, which literally means white car, right? But then if you want to say like it's a white car, you would say 白汽车, whatever the equivalent in Cantonese is. So it's not just intonation. I don't know, what is ontonation? Is ontonation the same as intonation? Ontonation. No, it's intonation. Yeah, it's the tone, right? But in Cantonese, you're also expected to know the slang. Otherwise, it's very obvious that you're not a native speaker. Right? So like, white car, white generic car is ambulance. White, specifically a car, is a white car. I don't remember if 火车 is train or not, which is literally a fire car or fire vehicle. I don't remember how you say fire truck. I don't remember. I know there's There's a lot of slang in Cantonese, so apart from getting the tones correct, you also need to know what just people call things, right? Or else, well, you might be like one of those people. Maybe it's also like a region thing, because I've always associated like Cantonese with like a more of a Hong Kong dialect, or Hong Kong accents is probably more accurate. So like a lot of my friends who are from like southern China, which still speaks Cantonese, but it's more of a, I guess a Guangdong dialect. So they'll say like things like 走乜嘢, and I'll be like, what the heck is 走乜嘢? Oh, you mean 走咩? So you don't like really pronounce the T at all, which is to say like, what are you doing? 走乜嘢? Something like that. But like my parents, where my dad is from Hong Kong and my mom is from Malaysia, where the accent is very, very loose, they'll just say like 走咩? 走咩? And it's oh. It's very, very different in how you pronounce the hard stops. There's no 走乜嘢. It's more of a 走咩? Oh, okay, well. You kind of lean more into the part, and you drop the end of it, which is very close to how I speak like English. Because my normal accents, I don't really pronounce the end of words either, because that's just, you know, the American Southern accent. What am I looking for? I'm looking for has method. This should have a has method thing on it, and it should be an object as well. Do I speak Malayu? Malayu, Bahasa Malayu. I can kind of understand it. I can kind of understand Malaysian, Bahasa Malayu. Hold on, I can remember parts of it. I'll recognize it if you if you say something. I'll recognize bits and pieces. You know, there's the classic tidak, no. There's lalaki, perempuan. I can't really think of anything else. Like I'm literate in Spanish for sure, but it's the same thing as like I'm literate in Spanish, but I cannot speak any Spanish for you. But if you were to give me a newspaper, I could totally read it. Has method is null, and if it does not have this method, then otherwise. Okay, so here what we can do is func. We can hit it with a call. So this will always be call method string args array, right? And then this will be return malat. What is malat? I don't know. What is malat? Please use it in a sentence, please, and then maybe I'll figure it out. I don't think did I say that I was literate in Malay? I'm not literate in Malay at all. I can probably figure out what you're talking about though. Alright, so this should be return methods method. This should have your expression, and then we won't use anything. Or maybe this should be, yeah. What is malat? Is malat bad? Hold on. Let me check. I do have this just saved. For some reason, I had this saved on German, though. I don't speak any German. You know, Deutsch. Let's see. Malay. What is Malak? That's Arabic? Malak. Malak is Arabic. I don't speak any Arabic whatsoever. I found something not looking bright. All right, let's end the discussions. Levels of abstractions for groups of components. Because it's kind of more of a discussion than tracking issue. This is an issue for tracking the discussion and implementation of the conceptual hierarchy of abstraction for data, i.e. components and Bevy. We need to figure out where to draw the lines between the kinds of organization and Bevy. Not capitalized. The current existing levels of abstraction are component, bundle, and scene. There's a current discussion of conceptual clarity and ergonomics of bundle and scene. Unnecessary comma. There are proposals to change the definition and meaning of bundle and bad comma. Additional components to add new capabilities to its specific comma, specifically a dynamic runtime reflection API. There are discussions of the conceptual clarity of scene and proposals to replace it with new and more levels of abstraction called schematic, prefab, and blueprint, or to keep scene while adding new levels of abstraction. Is a run-on sentence. So we should cut the sentence here. Narrowing the currently very large scope of scene. These discussions and proposals have a wider. Cart said that run-on sentence. Cart said that even a seemingly small proposal like the one to implement bundle file components may have far-reaching implications for the engine and potentially about or hamstring future development if it is not missing a word. Not value in a holistic and future-looking manner. Weird how their punctuation is all over the place. It's very weird. It's supposed to be fly as in the bug. Malat. Well, Google Translate wasn't able to translate it. So I'm not familiar. Is that like a Indonesian one? Bahasa Indonesia? Is it Indonesian? It might be Indonesian. If that's right. No. It says it's Arabic. And in Malak in Arabic is angel. Interesting. I had a few friends, or I had a friend, she spoke Arabic. But I think it was Syrian Arabic. It's not like standard Arabic. How do you say mosquito? Mosquito. Nyamuk. Nyamuk. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing from here. I'm drawing absolutely nothing. The use of despawn entities and group bundle things around despawn root object. It's not that clear. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like a lot of things aren't really that clear. So how would you call an object? So the idea that I've been going around in my head while I was talking about just random language stuff, probably not the most interesting thing, is that we store on an object. So if you define a class, like here, we create a GDL object, and then just, maybe it should be called like GDL class, right? GDL class, which isn't really the same thing. Why isn't this, oh, variant call string. I guess it's probably fine. Maybe this is something that you're not able to override. That's fine. Something like that. It comes with the movie Chichakman? Chichakman? I'm not Chichakman. What is this? Are you Malaysian, Rogue Nation? I suppose that would explain your sleep cycle. I've been to Malaysia, but I've only been to the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. And I've been down to the outskirts of Singapore as well. But other than that, I haven't really been to anywhere in Malaysia. I've been to a lot of Kuala Lumpur. I've been to, I guess I won't out where my relatives live. And I've also been to the outskirts of Singapore, but I've never been to Singapore. And then we ate like a very delicious lunch at some sort of like fishing village. It was pretty good. They were very surprised by the fact that we, you know, my siblings and I were not fluent in Chinese or Malay. Although I could definitely tell that they were talking trash about us in Chinese, Malay, or not in Malaysian, in Mandarin Chinese. Yeah, but Bevy will have to wait for sure, for sure. So this will return. So I guess we're not able to override call. Yeah, because there's no way for me to add in args like this. I guess it will need to be like call, oh geez, get me out of here. Call V. So then this will need to take args array. Yeah, so I guess this will have to work. So GDL class, and then it might just need to have a reference to either the scope. Yeah, so maybe this will need to have like scope. So scope like that, and then we'll just pass it along whenever we create the class. And then the class itself will not have, well, I guess the class itself will need to know about its own name, right? So name. Class name. So the name is the name, and then the hidden scope is the scope. Here, what we'll do is we'll do scope find. So we have the evaluator name here. Where is it? So scope find. I guess we'll just do evaluator. Evaluator scope name. Evaluator scope name, like that. And how did I do this before? I used this in several places. Run. Okay, so then we'll just call run. But then how do I pass args to the method? How do I add args to the method? That's a bit tough. Friends and teachers in the area went on tour of Singapore during a long stopover in Malaysia, but didn't take the visa. Saw a movie as in-flight entertainment from Mountain India, China, near that border. Any plans on remaking VR chat or Linux and GD script? Oh, absolutely not. There is someone else. They are called V Sekai. V Sekai. I guess if you are interested, you can find their thing here. Let me see, get updates. This is their organization, I guess. V Sekai. If you're interested, they're not remaking VR chat in GD script or Godot, but they are working on tooling for basically their own, like a Godot based metaverse thingy. And so I am using their VRM loader for this thingy right here. So, or I guess not this thingy. Let me load in an actual VRM file. So this is the VRM file. So this is using their loading technology. So I guess it's pretty neat. But I am not really associated with that project. I have contributed patches back, like a good open source worker bee, but that's not really what I'm into. Because VR for me just makes me kind of nauseous. I always feel kind of nauseous when we're working with VR. So let's see, methods. Okay, so I think what I can do is pass in a new scope, and I think scopes don't actually take in parameters. But I can patch it so it takes in a parameter in the init. Oh no, okay. Well, I don't know what the variable names are. So outer scope, var names. Do I ever do that? It seems kind of hard in order to like add things to a scope. Besides like just adding a key value string. I guess that would work, right? So we do like scope is a new scope. We'll pass in all the stuff here. So for I in args, but then I don't have the names of the arguments in order to pass it to the method. This isn't gonna work. I gotta think about this. Hit me with a to do. Need a. Well, maybe it'll work actually. But I just can't pass it to the scope. I've been messing around with Vercadia. Apparently no headset required. Yeah, Vercadia I think is in a weird place right now because they were doing some sort of NFT stuff. Nah, I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure. I do know they were having some internal conflicts though. So there were a lot of people talking on the V-Seikai Discord about that, but I'm not. I don't know. I'm not up to date on that kind of stuff. Anyways, run all. This should still work. Actually, yeah, this should still work. It's beautiful. Technically, this is invalid, but it doesn't throw any errors, which is good. Yeah. Get status. Get. What is the diff? So we have a few other functions, a few changes, and then we started writing a test for. Oh, just writing a. Yeah, start implementing like calling functions on custom objects. So get commit, start implementing func calls. Push that. Seems pretty good. And anyways, thanks for tuning in. I will be live tomorrow from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time, working on probably not this again. I am starting to feel the pressure to finish up the rewrite for this application. So really the only the GUI is left for the rewrite, which is always the hardest part, I guess. But I have an idea. So we're going to go back to hard coding. I'm not going to use GDML just yet, but I will. That is something I want to add in. So it's like user customizable, and there's a lot of logic that can be patched in as well. But we'll get to that. But yeah, let's you know. Give me a follow event already. I stream Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, and on Wednesdays from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. There's a Discord. There's a GitHub. Pretty much everything that I work on is free and open source, so you can find that on my GitHub page. What else do I do? Did the make human model work? I did not try it because I would need to have a loader for that, so I did not try any make human stuff. I did look at it and I thought it was pretty cool, but it does need to have a loader for it. So if it does just load in by itself, then I guess I just need to find a model then. Let's find someone to raid, I suppose. Who is streaming? So there is Arrow with 21. Let's raid Wyatt. Wyatt's doing actual game dev. So raid this person. Gets sent. Wyatt's doing Unreal, the hottest new game engine. Now I sent you a model though. Did you send me a model? I have this thing from you. I don't have a model from you though. Yeah, I do require a model. Yeah, I don't have anything here, and I don't remember seeing anything in my own Discord channel, so I don't think I received anything. A while ago, I dispute that, but I guess if it was a link to a lot of models, it's possible I missed it. What were you called? Hold on. CB Reds. All right, get audited. Oh, okay. So you sent me a Terra box. Well, I guess that's why I didn't load it. I guess that's why I didn't try it. Sorry. Anyways, good sense. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be working on VTuber stuff tomorrow. Goodbye.